I'm Samantha Rowan, and this is Refi TV. Our guest today is Jody Kriss of East River Partners, and we're going to be talking about the company's unique focus of converting apartment properties in Brooklyn into condos. Thank you for being here today, Jody.
Thank you, Samantha.
Let's start out with a 2-minute overview of East River Partners. You're the first company I've come across that's had a fund dedicated to this area.
Well, we saw in 2010 that everyone else in the market was trying to buy things, all things distressed. And our backgrounds were as developers. And so in 2010, we decided that we would become developers again. We saw that it was really, really hard to create new condo product, especially in Brooklyn. Construction loans were scarce, deals weren't trading, and we thought that there had been a few years where there was literally no construction financing. So large projects were just absolutely unable to be built. And so we thought that come around 2013, there would be a dearth of supply of condos, especially in Brooklyn, where we like the market dynamics. And I think that worked out to be right. We're delivering projects, and as everybody knows right now, they're getting gobbled up in a matter of days. So it's been a good strategy.
Is that part of what you like about the Brooklyn market, just the demand from people to live there?
A number of things we really liked about Brooklyn. We spent time analyzing different markets around the country. South Florida turned out to be an interesting opportunity. Manhattan, of course. What we really liked about Brooklyn was a number of things. One, the yield's higher than Manhattan. When we buy apartments there, we're looking at 5, 6, 7, maybe approaching 8 yield if we do our job right. Manhattan, it's 3, 4, 5. Mm-hmm. So we also saw that the condo margins were the same as in Manhattan. We could make a 40, 50% profit margin on our total cost, yet at a higher yield. And so that seemed less risky to us. Where we got really lucky is that there's been a cultural renaissance happening in Brooklyn. And I don't know if we understood it was a good place to live, but I don't know if we really anticipated how much the neighborhoods would change over the last few years.
It's funny you mentioned that. I recently saw a Brooklyn dedicated cookbook, which I think is a good example of that cultural renaissance.
There's been a gourmet renaissance happening there as well. That's part of the overall cultural renaissance that we've been seeing. But it's not limited to food. It's all sorts of culture, music, education. The schools are improving as a function of parents being more involved, and it's been a virtuous circle where the better it gets, the retail, better everything gets, the better class of people it tends to attract, and then everything else gets better still. So we've been seeing that happen. Even when we buy a building, it'll take us about a year to renovate. In that year, in every building we've bought, we've seen the retail in our neighborhood improve in just that year.
Now, how does all of that translate into the kind of properties that you look for? Do you use smaller developments, bigger deals?
We started small. The typical deal was in the range of $5 million. It's grown to around 25, and we're looking to keep growing. In 2010, it was a little bit harder to come by the capital to buy these buildings than it is now. Now it's more competitive than it was then. So it's balanced out. We're probably doing deals that are a little bit bigger than we were then. But 5 to 50 million is the range we're looking at.
That's actually a really good segue to my next question, which is how do you identify your opportunities? The multifamily market is pretty competitive from what I understand.
Yeah. We know what we're looking for. We're looking for buildings that can be gut renovated. We're also looking for land now. But when we were looking only for buildings that could be gut renovated, it meant that there weren't a lot of stabilized tenants. It meant that, so we bought a lot of 4 or 5 families. We bought some buildings that were bigger, that the previous owner had gotten some of the regulated tenants out. And that's been the kind of opportunities that have worked for us, because you're able to go in and very quickly turn them around.
You talked a little bit about the difference between Manhattan and Brooklyn, and I was wondering if you could just talk a little bit about what the price differential is for the end user for, say, a 2-bedroom apartment in Brooklyn versus Manhattan.
Sure. I mean, that's one of the things that factored into our decision to go to Brooklyn. We thought it was on sale with a quality of life that was the same as, if you look at Park Slope, it looks a lot like the Upper West Side, but not quite as large-scale buildings on the avenues. You have really all the buildings on the side streets. When we got there, we were projecting $750 a foot was the condo market. I think it's now approaching $1,000, $1,100. Yeah, we're seeing trades over $1,100 now. So, but by contrast, Manhattan's gone up. Manhattan would have been $1,200 then, and it's probably $1,600, $1,800 now. It's kind of 50 to 75%. Another factor you have to realize is that the common charges and maintenance are a lot less in Brooklyn. So if the price of the condo's 60%, the actual monthly cost is probably half.
That's a good factor.
It's a lot more affordable. The other thing in Brooklyn is that the public schools tend to be better. And so you see parents going there because private schools so expensive, so prohibitively expensive in Manhattan, that factors into their math.
Sure. So you've done a lot of developments over the last few years, and what's next? What's in your pipeline?
Well, our run of converting existing buildings was really good. I think there aren't as many buildings to convert as there were a couple of years ago. It's gotten so incredibly competitive that we're looking at ground-up construction, hopefully of a similar product type. In the brownstone neighborhoods in Brooklyn, the brownstone type of building is so well received that we're actually looking at building a whole bunch of new ones.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so we're excited. We're hoping to sign some contracts on land, but that's the product type we're going after. As opposed to doing taller buildings, we're looking at developing more horizontal than vertical.
What about land prices in Brooklyn compared to Manhattan? Is it much better?
No. I guess it is much better, but it doesn't seem that way. We're looking at land prices in Brooklyn exceeding $300 per FAR, which 2 years ago that would be the market clearing price in Manhattan. But now we're looking at land prices in Manhattan exceeding $700-800. So I guess it is a lot less. I mean, it seems to be a relatively constant percentage of the price that you can sell things at. So same 50 to 60% range that you'd see. Maybe even a little bit less, maybe 40-50% of Manhattan.
Unfortunately, that's all the time we have for today, so I'd like to thank you for being here, Jody.
Well, thanks so much. Appreciate it.
And I'm Samantha Rowan, and this is Refi TV.